Welcome. Today we're talking with Eric Diamond. In January of this year, Eric was promoted to the CFO position at Greencastle Consulting after having started as a senior consultant in 2015. Eric's career includes more than 10 years in the Army National Guard, where he achieved the rank of captain and is a Chinook helicopter pilot. Eric, thank you for your service and welcome to today's Banker Digest.
Hey, Larry, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Great. All right, well, let's get started. So Eric, why don't you start off with just an overview of Greencastle Consulting?
Sure. So Greencastle Consulting was founded in 1997 by three Army Rangers who were friends. And they came to the realization that the formal mission planning process and mission execution process that you learn as an officer or leader in the military really closely mirrored techniques in the civilian world in terms of project management. And so they started a consulting firm that kind of pulled that experience and ability out of the military and helped deliver it to the civilian world. There's also kind of soft skill concepts that layered into this as well, directly feeding from the military, like leadership, resilience, tenacity, things like that. So, I often joke that from a stress inoculation standpoint, the boardroom and the civilian corporate world can be pretty stressful. As long as there's not bullets flying, it seems like something you can handle, right? So that's kind of the history. We're happy to be celebrating our 25th year this year. We're actually under new ownership with Joe Crandall, who took over the company in 2019. And he actually doubled down on, not just being a veteran-owned company, but now we are committed to being 100% veteran staffed. So every member of our company in any form or fashion, whether they're a consultant or back office support, is also a veteran. And in that sense, we're happy to report that we're the largest all-veteran company in the world at about 75 employees as of today. What we actually do is called implementation consulting. So it's a subset of management consulting. And really what that is, it's, there's a strategy consulting piece where, the CEO might be getting some advice on what are the real big moves that I need to make, over the next coming years to make sure that my company's staying ahead of the curve. And so they'll get that plan kind of set. And then they'll say, well, someone's got to actually do this for me now. And that tends to be where we come in. And so our methodology is, combining concepts of project management, which is kind of like delivering, requirements on time, on budget, essentially, right? We also combine change management, which is really the people side. People have to adopt or change their behaviors related to an initiative. And really what you're doing there is, you're not just delivering something on time and on budget, but you're getting the intended value out of it in the end. And then on that point, we also do process improvement along the way. We're identifying, potentially inefficient practices or procedures that we're cleaning up. So we also, over the years have developed niche offerings in project financial controls and business intelligence and reporting, as we've seen a lot of demand and value from our clients there as well. Our clients tend to be, larger for-profit companies, tends to be 100 million a year in revenue or more. And really the reason for that is the larger an organization gets, it's the more potential value that we can deliver, just because the size of the initiatives gets bigger, but also as an organization grows, it tends to be that within their org chart, the disconnects tend to grow as well in terms of being siloed between, let's say, business operations or finance or IT. And that's really part of our methodology, is making sure that we're creating a common operating picture and bringing those different lanes of expertise to the table in order to deliver on the intended value from our clients.
Great. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, I really understand the point you make about applying the leadership and the lessons and the planning and the execution and the scenarios from your military background into the large corporate environment. A great application of that training and experience. So we often hear that with large projects, people just don't know where to start. They get that directive to do this big technology initiative, for example. So what's Greencastle's approach to go from that big technology initiative to projects and implementation?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And I will give you a specific answer in just a moment, but I want to take a step back and say, generally, and again, for any organization, but especially organizations of scale, you want to be able to get this done consistently, right? And so whether you have a formal staffed office or not, what you probably want to have is called an enterprise project management office, or PMO. And what that really does is it's going to set those kind of standards and procedures and provide tools to your various project teams so that they can, do exactly what you just asked, is get something kicked off in the right direction. And that is something that we also offer, outside of just getting an individual project done for clients, is helping to establish this kind of overarching kind of corporate policies and procedures.
Right.
So to get specific on your question, like how do you actually do that though? Let's say you got those standards set up, what do they look like? So we've got a pretty comprehensive methodology, which we could probably talk for an hour to go through each thing, line by line, detail by detail. But to kind of focus in on the beginning, is like, how do you get started correctly? Is as soon as there's an idea, and that could be a need or an opportunity or a pain point, as soon as there's an idea to make a change or deliver an initiative, what you want to do is understand who's the leader that's kind of behind this and sponsoring that idea. And you want to make sure that you have a dedicated session to get their guidance, so that you have a very clear picture of what's going to work and what's not going to work, and get the full picture. So once you have that initial leader's guidance, the next really critical thing is to develop a business case. This is something that organizations oftentimes just glaze over, and even the leaders themselves say, like, I don't need that. I already know that I want to get this thing done. Let's move forward, right? But the point of the business case, it's multifaceted, and it's critical in the sense that it provides the justification for why you were doing an initiative, right? Kind of, it's cost benefit analysis, but it's a lot more than that too. And if you don't do that up front, every project eventually hits issues, roadblocks, snags, what have you. And if you haven't clearly defined the why that you're doing something, it's going to be all too easy to abandon the project. And now you've just wasted time and money and resources. So you really need to understand what that end state is and what you're driving towards. But also it helps define who is actually authorizing this project to move forward, and what specifically are they authorizing? How much money is the project manager, supposed to spend on this? What people can the project manager bring in to help get this thing done? So it's really an important governance standpoint to make sure that whoever that leader is entrusting to carry out the project as clear left and right boundaries. But again, also it is to make sure that for everybody involved, there's a clear statement of, the justification and why you're doing this, to make sure that it carries through. And then lastly, once all that's done and approved, to really get things moving in the right direction, you want to have a kickoff meeting where you bring everyone that's involved in the project in face to face and really talk it through. One, this kind of level sets and gets everybody on the same page as to what's happening and who and why it's happening and who's responsible for what. But also, especially in today's day and age, you might not be face to face all the time moving forward. And again, every project eventually hits some kind of snag or resistance or pain points. And that's when you cash in on the kind of team cohesion and camaraderie that gets built, and it can only be built face to face. Later on, you're not just a faceless email that's a pain in your butt to asking you for information. It's like, hey, no, that's the person that we went out and had dinner together, and I got to know about their family and their hobbies and things like that. And so now I'm a little bit more invested into making sure that we're pushing this thing forward together.
Thank you, Eric. Your response there on the business case really makes a great point. The business case, I think, is much more than just a simple financial go, no go kind of decision. It really supports identifying the resources that are required, gaining that business alignment across the multiple departments, the silos that you spoke about, et cetera. It's such a key element to these large projects. So thanks for highlighting that in sharing with us. So you also mentioned that Greencastle works with clients on business intelligence engagements. What have you found that are the key elements, the commonalities in developing a successful BI project?
Yeah, thanks for asking. And you're going to want to follow a similar methodology to what we just talked about, right? Kind of getting that initial leader's guidance to get kicked off on the right foot. In this case, though, you're going to have a specific intent to kind of flesh out who are the end users of these business intelligence dashboards, apps, reports, right? And what are they really intending to use them for? Are they trying to get an insight or make a decision? Making sure you define that up front will help make sure that as you actually develop the business intelligence solutions, that they're going to serve the intended purpose. From there, essentially, you're going to follow those data sources back to the source and kind of map out every person or process or tool that touches them along the way. And that's how you can build a really robust automated solution that has visibility across the organization. So everybody's really on the same page. The last part then is just to make sure that you're doing the right level of change management. And that is, you don't want to have a tree fall in the woods and wonder if it made a sound, right? You need to make sure that anyone who's intended to be a user of this knows it exists, has access to it, has a desire to use it, is trained and knows how to use it. And that's how you really get the intended value out of business intelligence. There's a lot of information out there. That's the point of business intelligence. So it should be kind of solving that overload problem, not adding to it.
Right, right. Yeah, good points there. Yeah, I agree with the overload. BI can just add to that overload, but also your point about the end users, getting them involved at the front end for requirements, caring for them on the back end, with actually, making sure they're using the tool, understand how it impacts their jobs, their roles, their decision making, in support of the business, et cetera. So that's all great. So Eric, thank you for helping us understand how to get started on those big projects that can be overwhelming, and also the keys to launching that successful BI project.
It's been an honor to be here and a pleasure. Thanks, Larry.
Great, great. So in closing, thank you for joining today's Banker Digest. If you have additional questions for Eric, please see the link in his bio.